The rain drummed against the windows of our suburban home as I sat across from my wife, Jessica, at our kitchen table. Her hands trembled around her wine glass, and I knew, after 12 years of marriage, that something was terribly wrong. For weeks, I'd noticed the signs. The phone turned face down, late night work meetings, the distant look in her eyes when we made love, as if she were somewhere else entirely. I'd hired a private investigator, not because I wanted to catch her, but because I needed to know if I was losing my mind. "David, I need to tell you something," Jessica said, her voice barely above a whisper. I set down my beer, my heart already bracing for impact. "I'm listening." She looked up at me, mascara already beginning to smudge at the corners of her eyes. "I slept with Brandon last night." Brandon, her ex-boyfriend from college. The one she'd sworn meant nothing anymore. The one she'd reconnected with on social media 6 months ago for closure. The words hung in the air like poison gas. I felt my chest tighten, my vision blur at the edges. 12 years. 2 kids sleeping upstairs. A mortgage. A life we'd built together, brick by brick. "Say something," she pleaded, reaching for my hand. I pulled away, standing up from the table. My legs felt like water, but I forced myself to walk to our home office. Jessica followed, confusion and fear written across her face. I opened my desk drawer and pulled out a manila folder, one I'd prepared 3 days ago after the investigator confirmed my worst suspicions. Inside was a single sheet of paper, printed on our home printer, formatted like an invoice. "What is that?" Jessica asked. I turned to face her, my voice steady despite the hurricane raging inside me. "This is what you owe me." Jessica's hands shook as she took the paper from me. Her eyes scanned the itemized list, and I watched the color drain from her face. $10,000 for the engagement ring, I said calmly, leaning against the desk. Another $15,000 for the wedding you planned down to every detail. $5,000 for the honeymoon in Bali where you promised to love me forever. David, stop. I'm not finished. My voice was ice. $20,000 for the down payment on this house that I took from my inheritance. Your name is on the deed too, remember? Another $20,000 for the car you're driving, the Mercedes you insisted you needed for your image. Jessica's face crumpled. This is insane. You can't put a price on what? On trust? On loyalty? I stepped closer, my voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. You're right, I can't. But I can calculate what I've invested in a marriage you just destroyed in a single night. She looked back at the paper, her tears falling onto the document. What's the other $20,000 for? Therapy, I said flatly. For me? For the kids when they're old enough to understand why their parents aren't together anymore. For the years it's going to take me to trust anyone again. Jessica collapsed into the office chair, sobbing now. I made a mistake. David, please, it was one night. I was drunk and he was there and... One night? I laughed bitterly. The investigator has photos from 3 different hotels over the past month. One night is a mistake. A month is a choice. Her head snapped up. You had me followed? You gave me every reason to. I pulled out my phone, scrolling through the evidence. Should I show you the pictures? You and Brandon checking into the Marriott downtown? The Hilton by the airport? That boutique hotel in the Arts District where you told me you were at a marketing conference? Jessica covered her face with her hands. Oh, God. I continued. He doesn't live here. Brandon flew in from Seattle 3 times to see you. 3 times you lied to my face, kissed our children goodnight, and climbed into bed with him. The intimacy of her betrayal cut deeper than any knife. I remembered 2 weeks ago, after one of her conferences, when she'd come home and initiated sex with an intensity we hadn't shared in years. Her skin had smelled different. Unfamiliar cologne mixed with hotel soap. I'd noticed, but convinced myself I was paranoid. Now I knew.
She'd been with him that afternoon and come home to me that same night. I said, "The bill stands. $90,000 or I file for divorce tomorrow and make sure everyone knows exactly why."
"You can't be serious," Jessica whispered, looking up at me with red-rimmed eyes. "We don't have that kind of money, Liquid, and you want to, humiliate me?" "I want accountability," I replied, "something you clearly don't understand." Jessica stood up, anger beginning to replace her shock. "This is financial abuse, David. You can't extort me like this." "Extort?" I laughed coldly. "You want to talk about abuse? What about emotional abuse? Gaslighting me for months while you fucked your ex-boyfriend? Making me feel crazy for noticing the signs?" A knock at the door interrupted us. We both froze. "David? Jess?" My brother Michael's voice called from the hallway. "We're here. The door was unlocked." I had forgotten. Tonight was supposed to be our monthly dinner party. Michael and his wife Rachel, Jessica's sister Emma and her husband Tyler, 6 of us, wine and laughter, the perfect image of suburban happiness. "Shit," she hissed, wiping her eyes frantically. "Send them away." I looked at her for a long moment, an idea crystallizing in my mind. "No." "What?" "They're here. Let's have dinner. In fact, I think it's the perfect time to discuss your confession." Jessica's eyes went wide with panic. "David, no, please. We can work this out privately. I'll get the money somehow. Just don't what? Tell the truth?" I walked past her toward the door. "You should have thought about that before you destroyed our marriage." "David!" She grabbed my arm, desperate now. "I'm begging you. Emma will never forgive me. Your brother will hate me. Please, let's just—" I pulled free from her grip. "You made this bed, Jessica. Now you get to lie in it." I walked down the hallway, painting on a smile as I opened the door wider. Michael and Rachel were standing there with a bottle of wine in a covered dish. Behind them, Emma and Tyler were getting out of their car. "Hey, sorry we're early." Then paused, reading my expression. "Everything okay?" "Actually," I said, stepping aside to let them in, "I'm glad you're all here. Jessica and I have some news to share." 20 minutes later, we were all gathered in the living room. Jessica sat rigid on the couch, her face pale, while I stood by the fireplace. Our friends and family looked confused, sensing the tension but not understanding its source. "So," Rachel ventured cautiously, "what's this about?" I pulled the invoice from my pocket, unfolding it deliberately. "Jessica has something she needs to tell all of you." Jessica's sister Emma leaned forward, concern etching lines across her forehead. "Jess? What's going on?" The silence stretched like taffy. Jessica's mouth opened, then closed. She looked at me with pleading eyes, but I remained stone-faced. She'd made me the fool for months. Now it was her turn. Jessica's voice cracked. "I cheated on David." The room erupted. Emma gasped. Rachel's hand flew to her mouth. Tyler muttered, "Jesus Christ," under his breath. Only Michael remained composed, though his jaw tightened as he looked between us. "With who?" Emma demanded, standing up. "How long?" "Brandon," I answered for her, my voice cutting through the chaos. "Her ex from college. For at least a month, maybe longer." Emma rounded on her sister. "Brandon? The one you said was just a friend? The one you said I was being paranoid about when I saw you texting him constantly?" Jessica's face crumpled. "Em, I'm sorry. I never meant—" "Never meant what? To get caught?" Emma's voice dripped with disgust. "You have 2 beautiful children upstairs, a husband who works himself to death to give you everything you want. And you threw it away for what? A trip down memory lane?" "It wasn't like that," Jessica sobbed. "It just happened. We were talking and old feelings came back and—" "Spare us the romance novel bullshit," Michael interrupted, his voice hard. "You made a choice, multiple choices. David, what's that paper?" I handed him the invoice. Michael scanned it, his eyebrows rising.
He passed it to Rachel, who shared it with Emma and Tyler. I watched their faces register shock, then understanding, then surprisingly approval. 90 grand, Tyler whistled. That's actually pretty fair, considering. Fair? Jessica shrieked. How is any of this fair? He's trying to financially ruin me over a mistake. A mistake is forgetting to pick up milk, Rachel said coldly. She'd always been the no-nonsense one. This was calculated deception. You planned every encounter, every lie. Don't insult us by calling it a mistake. Emma was crying now, but not for Jessica, for me. David, I'm so sorry. If I'd known... You couldn't have known. She was very careful. Jessica stood up, her voice rising hysterically. So what, you're just going to take his side? Nobody's even asking for my perspective? What perspective? Michael challenged. Is there a version of this story where you didn't betray your husband and family? Where you didn't lie repeatedly? Where you didn't expose David to God knows what diseases? Jessica flinched. I felt a grim satisfaction watching her squirm under the weight of collective judgment. I'll pay it, Emma said suddenly. Everyone turned to stare at her. I have money saved. Jessica's my sister, but what she did is unforgivable. David, if you want to stay married and work this out, I'll loan her the money. If you want a divorce, I'll pay for your lawyer too.
Jessica's face went white. Emma, you can't be serious. That's your money for the baby fund, I know. Emma's hand unconsciously moved to her flat stomach. She and Tyler had been trying for years. But some things are more important than my plans, like making sure there are consequences for destroying your family. I'll contribute $20,000, Michael said, looking at me steadily. Not for her, for you, brother, for the hell you're about to go through either way. Jessica looked around the room wildly, searching for an ally and finding none. This is insane. You're all insane. Rachel, you're not going to say anything? Rachel, who'd been quiet, set down her wine glass with deliberate care. I caught my ex-husband cheating before Michael. He convinced me it was my fault, that I wasn't attentive enough, sexy enough, interesting enough. It took me 3 years of therapy to realize I wasn't the problem. He was. She stood up, walking over to Jessica. For a moment, I thought she might offer comfort. Instead, she looked down at my wife with something close to pity. You don't get to be the victim here, Rachel said. David's giving you a choice. Pay the price and maybe salvage something, or lose everything in a divorce that will leave you with far less than $90,000. Take the mercy he's offering because I guarantee you won't find it in family court. Jessica collapsed back onto the couch, her body racked with sobs. I can't get that money. My parents won't help. They love David more than me. My savings account has maybe $5,000. I'd have to sell everything, borrow from... Good, I said simply. Now you understand what it feels like to lose something you value. Tyler, who'd been silent throughout, finally spoke. What's the timeline on this, David? If she pays, what then? I looked at Jessica, really looked at her. The woman I'd loved since we were 23, the mother of my children, the person I'd trusted with every vulnerable part of myself. If she pays within 30 days, I'll consider counseling. Every penny accounted for, every cent a reminder of what she destroyed. We'll try to rebuild, but the foundation will always have this crack in it. And if she doesn't pay, Michael asked, then I file for divorce, petition for primary custody based on her infidelity and poor judgment, and make sure every mutual friend and family member knows exactly why our marriage ended. I looked directly at Jessica. No more protecting you. No more keeping your secrets. You wanted Brandon? You can have him, along with the social stigma of being a cheater and homewrecker. Jessica looked up at me, something shifting in her expression. You really hate me now, don't you? No, I said honestly.
feeling the truth of it. I love you. That's why this hurts so much. That's why I'm giving you this chance instead of just walking away. But I hate what you did. I hate what we turned us into." She stood up shakily, walking over to me. Our friends and family watched as she reached out, her fingers trembling as they touched my chest. "What if," she whispered, her breath warm on my neck, a familiar intimacy that now felt like a ghost. Her hand slid lower, the gesture both desperate and manipulative. In the past, physical intimacy had been her way of smoothing over arguments, avoiding difficult conversations. I caught her wrist. "That won't work anymore," I said quietly, aware of our audience. "Sex was never our problem, Jessica. Trust was. And you can't fuck your way back to trust." Emma cleared her throat. "We should go. Let you two talk." "No," I said, releasing Jessica's wrist. "I want witnesses for what comes next." I pulled out my phone, opening my banking app. With a few taps, I transferred $90,000 from our joint savings account, the emergency fund we'd built over 12 years, into a new account in my name only. "That's our money," Jessica gasped. "You can't just—" "I just did. This is now my money. Your bill stands. You want to save this marriage? You'll find a way to pay me back. Every dollar." I looked around the room. "And everyone here is my witness that this isn't extortion or abuse. This is accountability." Michael nodded. "Witnessed." "Agreed," Tyler added. Emma hugged her sister one last time. "I love you, Jess, but you need to fix this. Really fix it. Not just throw money at David and hope he forgets." As our guests filed out, Jessica and I stood in our living room. The wreckage of our marriage spread between us like broken glass. 30 days, I reminded her. "And Jessica, if you contact Brandon again, even to say goodbye, the deal is off. I'll burn it all down." She nodded, tears streaming down her face. "I'll get the money. I don't know how, but I will." "Good." I turned toward the stairs. "I'm sleeping in the guest room. Don't come looking for me." As I climbed the stairs, I heard her whisper, "I'm sorry, David. I'm so fucking sorry." I didn't respond. Sorry wouldn't rebuild what she destroyed. Only time, money, and unbearable honesty would, if anything could at all. 30 days, $90,000, one marriage hanging by a thread. The clock started now. The end.